Well, welcome to Gain TV. I'm Malik Linzanzo.
And I'm Gustavo Invella.
Okay, folks, we're back here. This is the Dream Team. Back, I've said Dream Team.
He's now a basketball player.
That make me sound like
Yeah,
the
I know.
Gabonese Dream Team.
I,
Listen,
and you got a 2-inch vertical, so it doesn't mean that you can't play basketball. So I don't know what you're talking about.
uh,
Basketball, no.
listen. There's some good stuff. It's the important subject that we got to be addressing today. As you know, the president said the war is over, and Republican, please get over it. The war is over. It's over. We have more bigger fish to fry. What do you think, my brother? You heard the president talking, and I'm gonna play it in a minute.
Yep.
What do you think about what the president just did?
I was very impressed with President Biden's very strong and fiery speech. For all those who had any doubt as to his cognition, his ability to voice his opinion without ambiguity. I think he closed the mouths of some of those critics, but there's always going to be the perpetual critics who are always going to lob their volleys from the rafters. But the bottom line is he was presidential, he was direct, he let the people know his plan, and more importantly, he's able to say, I'm willing to assume all responsibility with regard to this operation, which is something that we didn't experience in the previous administration.
Absolutely. And talking about previous administration, and I'm glad you mentioned that. You see this man? You see this four president? Bush,
Yes.
Obama, Trump, Biden. This is how these four people, um, you know, the war in Afghanistan, the part was created, this mess was created all for these people. And as you know, it looks like the Democrats have a it looks like the Democrats all usually are the party to come and clean the mess. And they are, as you can see here on this picture here, the mess was starting with this very man here. President Bush is the one who started that war. Obama came, didn't do much in terms of withdrawing our troops from Afghanistan. Instead, what we did was that we continued to use drone, and that the troop was still in Afghanistan. And then Mr. Trump was playing blame game. Cam, did he do anything? No, he didn't. Now that we have somebody who is more courageous with the ability to say, you know what, in these things right here, there's no such a thing as a perfect withdrawal.
Mhm.
I don't believe in a perfect withdrawal. No matter how good the Republican trying to make this seems, we will never have a perfect withdrawal.
Mhm.
If that was perfect, then Trump will have done that. What you think?
I think it's important to note, Malik, that in the history of humankind, there's never really been a real peace. Man has always gone to war. I remember hearing a statistic that maybe during the course of humanity, the 3,000 years of civilized, however you want to categorize it, that there's probably only been about 300 years of those 3,000 where there has been a relative peace. But war is part of humanity, and humanity is part of war. That being said, there's plenty of blame to go around. We all know that there was some suspicion as to us going into Afghanistan in the first place. Some people said it was a vendetta for President Bush and Osama bin Laden trying to kill his father. Others said it was an opportunity for people like former Vice President Dick Cheney and his company Halliburton, or Kellogg, Ryan and Root, for these guys to go in there, set up camp, set up shop, extract natural resources, and leave the country worse off than they found it with regard to natural resources. I don't know of all that speculation. I do know that September 1st, 2021, there are no more American troops in Afghanistan. And thank goodness for Joe Biden taking a hard stance and willing to know that this decision wasn't going to be popular, but we're not in a popularity contest. We're dealing with presidential politics, whether here, Gabon, or Equatorial Guinea.
Okay, so just like you said, presidential politics, and please, my friend from the other side of the equation, Republican, please try be honest. This was not an easy task. Joe Biden is a diplomat. known, renowned internationally. This man understand that we, even if we have put 20 more years in this war, there will be never, we will never have an happy ending. Because when we let me give you some figures here. This war was costing America some 300 million a day. Now put it in a perspective. In 20 years, my friend, in 20 years, it's about maybe 6,000 million, Mr. Umbar.
Mm.
6,000 million
Yeah.
in 20 years. These are the money that the American people need.
Yeah. For education, infrastructure,
Education, you
healthcare.
know, health care. We're talking about, homeless shelters. How we measure up with everybody else in the strong countries when it comes to education. I mean, it's ridiculous. Read this. U.S. education rankings are falling behind the rest of the world. Now, when you see that kind of stuff, and you see all the people like the Chinese, the Korean, they're laughing at us. How come the number one country on earth, you cannot even educate your own kids?
Yeah. It's
What you
unfortunate.
think?
Yeah, because sometimes you have, there's a term that they throw out now uh, called white privilege. Maybe this is a case of nationalistic privilege. I'm not here to downgrade or somehow blame the United States of America, because for immigrants like you and I, the United States of America provided us with opportunities that we may not have been able to experience in our home country. But that being said,
But that's why we defend this country.
we
That's
defend
why we fight for it.
exactly. Even our status as permanent residents, we have a voice, a clear and convincing voice. And I want everyone to know, the Republicans, independents, and Democrats to know that Joe Biden, the buck stopped with Joe Biden, and he assumed responsibility. And of course, in these times of uncertainty, people are going to look for all the weakest links. But in this case, the strongest link was Joe Biden and his decision-making capacity.
Absolutely. I'm going to play a clip of the president telling the entire universe, including America, that the war is absolutely over.
War in Afghanistan is now over. I'm the fourth president who has faced the issue of whether and when to end this war. When I was running for president, I made a commitment to the American people that I would end this war. Today, I've honored that commitment.
Now, how many politicians can say, look American people in the face and say, I honor what I said. I honor my promise. This is Biden is not Trump. There's a lot of promises Trump was, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then end up couldn't do it. Biden said, I'm going to end this war, and he just did it.
And also to touch upon a point earlier, how often do you have the words politician and honor used in the same sentence? And
Absolutely.
So in this case, Joe Biden, a long established Democratic senator from the state of Delaware, used his political chops, his patience, his deliberative. Don't think that behind the scenes he wasn't negotiating. I think probably one of the most brilliant moves was sending CIA Director William Burns out there to negotiate with the Taliban. Listen, in life, you have to talk with your enemies. You can't just bury your head in sand hoping that these guys will go away. The Taliban, whether we like it or not, are now the ruling party in Afghanistan. And so we have to deal with that. That's just the reality. And so you can talk about the terrorism, you can talk about the beheadings, but you have to talk to people, particularly that part of the world, who will then it'll be a nest for other terrorists to come join, Malik. People from all over the world say, if you want, whether it's the Kahani network, whether it's ISIS-K, people now know if you want a safe haven for terrorism, go to Afghanistan. It's kind of like one-stop shopping, terrorism style.
Yeah, but envelop, and so people say, you know what, the fact that our military back home, that will make us safe. I mean, I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. And guess what? Here at home, do we have our own national or domestic terrorists?
Of course we
Yes,
do.
of course we do. Yeah, we do have our own national, local, or I mean,
As a matter of fact, Robert Ray,
homegrown
the director Ray from the FBI even testified saying that homegrown terrorism, domestic terrorism, white supremacists, those guys who you find in remote parts, and I'll say states like Idaho, where they congregate, that is perhaps the most clear and convincing threat to the stability of the United States of America, are homegrown terrorists. We saw it in
So
Charlottesville.
what the Republicans are doing about it?
They go radio silent and they obfuscate. All you have to do is go to Fox News.
That's what I'm
These guys,
talking about.
and they'd rather talk about Jeff Bezos going to Mars than people getting killed in Charlottesville by getting run over by folks. So the reality is that people want to live in two worlds. I choose to live in one world, the world of reality, facts, and evidence. And for those who choose to occupy other space, Malik, well, hopefully they're enjoying their time out in La La Land, and I don't mean L.A.
When it comes to homegrown terrorists, our Republican friend and Tuck's host, the Fox, network. I mean, they don't even want to mention that.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with that, but they want to talk about the Taliban. Guess what? They are in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan is actually their country. And to the argument that, oh, you know what, Kabul fell to the Taliban. No, actually, they just gained back their country. That's their country. Let them deal with it.
Yeah.
And let us use our money on the American people, improve our education, because all of this country are laughing at us. Because do you think a country like America can stand without good education? If we don't educate our people, do you think this kind of country can measure up to other industrial countries?
I am no financial wizard, but I think a term that could be applied would be dividend reinvestment. You have money that you're reinvesting in the country. In this case, the education, infrastructure, healthcare, stability, roads, clean water, all that stuff. And that money's gone, never to be recuperated. But more importantly, the lives of over 2,000 American soldiers, I believe, were also gone. And people, not to mention the Afghanis. So there are blood and treasure that was lost, financial things that were lost, but we now need to rebalance and regain dominion and control as best we can. And I believe that the intelligence community, the diplomatic community with Secretary Blinken will do their best to try to make the most out of a very challenging situation. But that's what presidents are for. They usually rise to the challenges, not go hide and play golf somewhere, hoping that others will handle the heavy lifting.
Let's listen.
It was time to be honest with the American people again. We no longer had a clear purpose in an open-ended mission in Afghanistan. After 20 years of war in Afghanistan, I refuse to send another generation of America's sons and daughters to fight a war that should have ended long ago.
See, it's thinking, this is not even the politician talking. This is a concerned America who knows that mothers, I know a lot of mothers across this country are not thinking this man, or not saying, thank you, Mr. Biden. Now I have my son back. Of course, we have some casualties. Of course, in a war, you would expect people to die. That's the business of war.
Yes.
You get killed, you kill, or you get killed. That's that two equation. And there's no middle. There's no. That's how this business is about.
Yeah,
but guess what?
But we also have to be cautious and aware that there are those who want to profit off of war profiteers, people who will encourage incursions in other countries so they can sell munitions, weaponry, mercenaries. So it's a fine balance. You have people who love chaos. Some people have even claimed that other parts of the Middle East, that there's some countries which are friendly to the U.S. that want to stir up this sense of, oh, we're victims, we're in a region where there's terrorism. Yet that country, that small country, is known to export weaponry to countries in Africa that are conflict zones. So I'm not about hypocrisy. I'm about, listen, if you want to be a part of the solution, then stop being a part of the damn problem.
Check this out. This is what your friend Malik Lenzonzo wrote. If you can, I don't know if you can read it. It will be good that it will be good that you read it. Listen, I want to remind all our friends across the country and internationally, we stand with Joe.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. We stand with Joe. We say no to the war, swamp, and no to the war. Our soldiers' selfless courage make them true heroes, not the war profiteers. This time must be different, Malik. So yeah, it's exactly. I think what happens, Malik, is that people get so used to the status quo and it becomes normal. Anytime you break from the norm is when you're going to have people rising above. But eventually, this will come to some type of resolution. We'll have a new crisis down the road. This cycle right now is all about Afghanistan 24/7. Can you imagine though, before, when the biggest crisis was whether or not Donald Trump was going to have an acting secretary of whatever? We're now talking about real issues where you don't go to North Korea on a whim, hoping to have a photo op, but in essence, you're really being played by the international community and not realizing it. Thank God that the adults are back in control of the White House.
Back in control. Back in control. That's exactly what it is. And they would thank Joe later. I know that for sure.
Yes. And I thank him now.
After more than $2 trillion spent in Afghanistan, costs that researchers at Brown University estimated would be over $300 million a day for 20 years in Afghanistan, for 2 decades. Yes, the American people should hear this. $300 million a day for 2 decades. You take the number of 1 trillion, as many say, that's still $150 million a day for 2 decades. What have we lost as a consequence in terms of opportunities? I refuse to continue a war that was no longer in the service of the vital national interests of our people. And most of all, after 800,000 Americans serving in Afghanistan, I've traveled that whole country, brave and honorable service. After 20,744 American servicemen and women injured, and the loss of 2,461 American personnel, including 13 lives lost just this week, I refuse to open another decade of warfare in Afghanistan.
Man, it takes courage to stand up and to stand up to this war machine, the military industrial complex. It takes in this America, if you really understand how this word goes around, for this man to stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. It takes, I'm telling you, it takes courage. Courage.
And I think, and he has a reservoir of courage, not only in his public service, but also in realizing that his son served, both served there, and so there. I find it hard to believe that probably didn't factor into his decision making. But President Biden has a competent, intelligent, experienced team around him. I know this was not a decision that was made at the spur of a moment while eating McDonald's, French fries, and a Happy Meal. This was a decision that was made, I'm sure, in the Situation Room, in which people brought their years and decades of expertise, knowing that they gamed this out. Remember, when they make these decisions, Malik, these guys, they know different scenarios, right? No one thought there was the whole Kabul thing or people hanging off from planes, but they have people who know, oh, if you take down this path, this is likely going to happen, A, B, C, D, E, F, D. So somewhere in that war room, this probably kind of unfolded, probably not as quickly as they had anticipated, but there were enough smart brains in that room to realize.
Any idea, Gustavo, any idea why President Trump, who made this deal with the Taliban, any idea why he did not step up his game since he's the tough guy? And I'm gonna play you a clip where he's honestly, now it's easy for him. He's no longer a president. Can say whatever you want to say because there's no responsibility that So now, tell me, why is it this man that made that
the tough guy who taught 6 deferments for bone spurs, the tough guy who had someone allegedly take his SATs, the tough guy who, when push came to shove, almost crumbled at the knees of Vladimir Putin. Well, if that's a tough guy, give me Joe Biden any day of the week.
I just want let's finish playing Joe Biden before we get to that.
We've been a nation too long at war. If you're 20 years old today, you've never known an America at peace. So when I hear that we could have, should have continued the so-called low-grade effort in Afghanistan at low risk to our service members, at low cost. I don't think enough people understand how much we have asked of the 1% of this country who put that uniform on, willing to put their lives on the line in defense of our nation. Maybe it's because my deceased son, Bo, served in Iraq for a full year. Before that, well, maybe it's because of what I've seen over the years as senator, vice president, and president traveling these countries. A lot of our veterans and their families have gone through hell. Deployment after deployment, months and years away from their families, missed birthdays, anniversaries, empty chairs at holidays, financial struggles, divorces.
By the way, Gustavo, do this Republican, do they care about the American people? These mothers, we see the kids falling in war and useless. I mean, and nonsense. We have no business doing, staying in Afghanistan for another 20 years. Do they really care about those families?
Yeah, I'm not going to go so far as to say that the Republicans don't care about the families of American people. I think that they are opportunists and they are what they call situational ethicists, people who will use the situation either to their advantage or disadvantage, like any politician. I think just like what we went through the last 4 years, you're going to have a clashing and converging of two worlds, reality versus reality TV. And unfortunately, the host of reality TV is no longer around, but he's got some of his participants in the audience still throwing out, fake lines, fake news, and disinformation. I really believe that. I know that there's a freedom of press and freedom of the speech, but if you knowingly pass out harmful disinformation that leads to the death of individuals, there's got to be something to be said because this carnival ride has got to stop. But even while it's going on, as long as we stay true to ourselves, Malik, as long as we have a platform like Gain TV, which I know is an awesome platform, and those who are watching, I know, will donate to Gain TV, we will be fine. Truth always survives, mistruths and lies never, ever, ever, ever succumb to the BS that people, for their own motives, try to throw out there. And these guys, it's a game. They know that there are certain segments of American society that are vulnerable, that may not have the type of intellectual capacity or aptitude, not calling them anything other than folks who may not have access to information. It's those kind of people that if you replicate those folks, reproducing reproducers, before you have a movement which demonstrated with a sweep of someone like Donald Trump into office. So God bless Donald Trump, whatever he's doing. I'm glad that he can now.
He's not doing anything. Whatever he's doing, he's not doing anything.
And he's now.
Let me read, Ambella. Let me read some comments that
Yes.
one of our viewers, Michelle, is talking about. She said, "Don't get totally focused on Afghanistan. Keep your eyes on DC. A magician always distract his audience."
Yeah, it's about misdirection. Remember, smoke and mirrors. That while people are focusing on Afghanistan, there could be legislation being
Thank
passed.
you, Michelle, for watching.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Listen. You send some great stuff here. I think it's this war. When Michelle talked about the magician distracting the audience, I think that is a good illustration of Trump.
Yeah.
He's trying to distract the president, focus on making America a safe place for everyone. And a lot of those mother no longer gonna be worrying every night, every day that the loved one might don't come back home. Now that this war is over, we're gonna focus on the American people. Now I want to see the Republican vote on the infrastructure bill, the money that was supposed to send into war and a useless war. We have to bring that money back, and let's see how our friends Republican will vote on the infrastructure war. What do you have to say about that?
I think it's important, Malik, to distinguish between magicians and carnival barkers. I'll let your audience, your esteemed audience, our esteemed audience, figure out what category people who belong in the magician category, and what categories are those who are carnival barkers who have to actually use some type of thing to amplify. They can't vocalize. They have to use something artificial in order to get their false message out. So I'm not intelligent enough to figure out who the magicians are and who the carnival barkers. So I'll leave it to your audience.
Absolutely. By the way, real life 3D, Puspa, Michelle, thank you for watching. This is very important. This, political discourse is very important. We no longer want to be depending on the so-called mainstream media that feed us with whatever they want to feed us with, especially those from the Fox News of the world. We don't want to depend on them and trying to portray the president as being the bad person because he bring the troop home. I think the president needs more support because this is the kind of action we elected him for to do. I hope you agree with that. Let me play this clip because Trump has something that he had to say
Loss of
just
limbs,
after this
traumatic brain injury,
message.
post-traumatic stress. We see it in the struggles many have when they come home. We see it in the strain on their families and caregivers. We see it in the strain on their families when they're not there. We see it in the grief borne by their survivors. The cost of war they will carry with them their whole lives. Most tragically, we see in the shocking and stunning statistic that should give pause to anyone who thinks war can ever be low grade, low risk, or low cost. 18 veterans on average who die by suicide every single day in America. Not in a far off place, right here in America. There's nothing low grade or low risk or low cost about any war. It's time to end the war in Afghanistan. As we close 20 years of war and strife and pain and sacrifice, it's time to look to the future, not the past, to a future that's safer, to a future that's more secure.
So, Gustavo, why is that? Why is that our friend from across the hall trying to keep us on the past? That is the past now. The
Yeah.
war is over.
The
Let,
war's
let,
over.
let focus. Let focus on the future of America.
Yep. And the future of America, and realizing, of course, that there will be the intelligence community that will still be addressing some of the issues in Afghanistan. But as you know, a president has multiple decisions to make, Malik, on a variety of issues. Even though we're hearing Afghanistan at the forefront, there are still other policy issues that President Biden is addressing, whether it's the infrastructure, whether it's healthcare, other things are going on. So although right now the oxygen being used up is to cover the Afghanistan situation, there's a lot of other things going on. And thank goodness that President Biden, in his capacity as a former senator and vice president and now president, had the skill set and the reservoir of experience,
And the
struggle,
courage.
and the courage, unlike others who found themselves 12 years on a reality TV series, hoping that certain celebrities wouldn't be voted off their show. My feeling is that's the past. Let's move forward to the present. I'm optimistic that America will once again be a leader. We are re-engaged, and in the words of Joe Biden, multilateralism back, diplomacy and back, and America is back.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
To a future that honors those who served and all those who gave what President Lincoln called their last full measure of devotion. I give you my word with all of my heart. I believe this is the right decision, a wise decision, and the best decision for America. Thank you. Thank you, and may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
That's a real president. You understand? That's a wise man talking. This is not even a politician because this is personal to Joe Biden.
Mhm.
You know, this is personal, and he cares about the American people. I'm not talking about cares being, I care about you, and then when you turn your back, I will go and play some poker on your name. I'm talking about, making some tough decision, knowing that I can even lose an election, but I believe in what I do, and I can go to sleep peacefully, knowing that I've done the right thing. What you think, my friend?
I think empathy is a very important characteristic of a leader. To true, genuine empathy, to be able to feel someone else's pain, someone else's happiness, someone else's uncertainty. And I think Joe Biden, having gone through so many personal tragedies, including losing his first wife, a child, losing his son Bo, you wonder how folks like that can continue to move on. But for those of us of faith, we always know that brighter days lay ahead.
Absolutely. Now, listen, just to balance, because I know some of my a friend from the Republican Party are here watching, and they wish they can listen to President Trump talking. And I have something for them. I'm gonna play that, and then we can continue
You're gonna
this.
make their wish come true. Okay, I know now you're the role of the magician. Okay, go ahead.
And then we would have bombed every base but Bagram. We had to keep. We had them, and I would have taken the equipment out. I would have taken the people out, and then we would have bombed every base but Bagram. We had to keep that because that's near China and Iran. So we were going to keep that for other purposes. I mean, they spent $10 billion building Bagram, and then they handed it out overnight. They give them the keys. I've never heard any. I have never seen stupidity like this. And they're trying to now, the narrative, Biden got out like he's brave. He got out like a man that was just fleeing for his life. This is the United.
Whew.
Magician, carnival barker. You decide, America.
That's all I can say, man. It's not much to say right here. The man was here. It's not like we never see him in action. President Trump was the president before Joe Biden.
For 4 years.
Couldn't do
4 years.
4 solid years.
And he will
Couldn't
go
do
down in
jack.
history as a president of the United States of
Okay.
America who presided over a divided states of America.
So he couldn't do jack. So that's why I'm done. I don't even want to spend 10 minutes to talk about what Trump is saying. And
Yeah.
the guy is. Can you imagine? He is mad because people say Biden was courageous enough to make this decision. You don't want to hear that because you want attention on him. You want him to be the one, the center of attention as always. But you were here. You were president. That war was ongoing under your watch. What did you do?
I
Nothing.
don't like to give too much advice to folks who aren't serious, sober, and that can be Democrats, Republicans, or independent. But my advice to President Trump is that he should focus all of his energy, all of his resources on the number of legal issues and criminal investigations taking place. That is enough to last not only 4 years, but maybe 8 years, enough to keep him busy beyond the next two election cycles. So I wish him well. I wish his legal team well, and I hope he pays his lawyers, by the way. And I wish those who are around him the best in all of their endeavors to try to corral a client who wants to be both the client and the attorney, despite having not gone to law school.
Well said, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our show for today. It's always a pleasure to have my friend and
Likewise.
partner, Mr. Gustavo Ambella. That was pretty good analysis from you, my friend. And I look
As
forward
you
to see
will.
you again. I
Always.
look forward, always. And just like you always say, in order for people to get this side of the story, and you have to support and watch and
As I
viewership
always
and
I encourage
donation.
every listener, please take the time. This isn't a peddling. We're out here carving our niche in a sea of misinformation, disinformation. We'll do it day and night. The truth never rests, never sleeps, nor do I, nor Malik. and we're out here fighting the good fight, and we hope that you can show your support. It's not about hating, it's about appreciating.
Absolutely. We'll leave it right there, my friend. I'll talk to you another time.
All right.
I was Talk to me with Gustavo Mbala, Malek Lenzanza. See you next time. Bye now.